Okay, so whatever you're using for notes, go ahead and get that out and ready to roll. Our notes today will be pretty short because it's mostly going to be examples using the stuff that we did yesterday, but adding a bit of algebra to the mix. We're going to bust out the algebra today. So we want to be able to use angle relationships formed by parallel lines and transversals to find missing angles, and then also use algebra to solve for missing variables and angles. Okay. So getting our notes ready. And let's see. Okay, so this is kind of like 3.2 the second day. All right, more parallel lines cut by a transversal. Okay. So our Kahoot that we did was kind of a nice review of our angle relationships and everything. So hopefully that helps us remember a little bit. But just to write it down again so we have it at the top, we know that alternate interior and exterior angles are equal. We want to make sure that we have that. Alternate interior and exterior is a relationship of equality. We know that consecutive interior angles add to 180. We know that corresponding angles are equal. So those were our new angle relationships that we have from chapter 3. We also know that linear pairs add to 180, and we also know that vertical angles are equal. But those were some angle relationships from chapter 1 that occasionally we will still see here. Okay. So we're going to put some algebra into this. We're going to start with some examples of how we might see algebra in problems like this, or in situations like this. So let's start by drawing some parallel lines and a transversal. All right. And we might see something like this, where we've got lines that are parallel. We have a transversal, and we know that this angle is 80 degrees, and this angle is 5x minus 10 degrees. And we want to solve for x. So first of all, we want to identify what the angle relationship is between this angle that's 5x minus 10 and this angle that's 80 degrees. So looking at our angle relationship possibilities, what do we think? What's our angle relationship for this one? Type it in the chat if you think you know. All right, so are we on the same side of the transversal or opposite sides? Because if we're on opposite sides, we'd be alternate. If we're on the same side, we might be consecutive. What do we think? Alternate exterior. I would agree. Because they're on opposite sides of this transversal, and their exterior angles, they're outside our parallel lines. So if we can identify the angle relationship, that's half the battle here. So these are alternate exteriors. And so since we know that alternate exteriors are equal, to set up my equation now, I have to just go, okay, 80 equals 5x minus 10. Or you can say 5x minus 10 equals 80. Either way. But we're going to then solve that equation for x. So I would add 10 to both sides. So 5x equals 90. Divide by 5 on both sides. And get x equals 18. So that would be my answer. Okay. So kind of our steps here are identify the angle relationship, then decide whether you're setting them equal or adding to 180, because those are really your two options here. So the nice thing with this is that you really do only have two options of what you're going to do. You're either going to set them equal or you're going to add them together and set it equal to 180. And it depends on the angle relationship. Okay, any questions on that one? Any numbers we're not sure where they came from? Steps we're not sure why they happened? All right. If you do at any point, feel free to unmute yourself and say something or type in the chat. Well, let's do another one. Let's go with, gonna make ourselves some parallel lines. And we'll say that this angle is 3x. And that this angle here is 4x plus 10. And again, we want to solve for x. Okay. So what's the angle relationship for this one if these are our parallel lines here? Are they on the same side of the transversal or on the opposite sides of the transversal? Are they interior, exterior? What do we have? Yeah, Samia's got it. Consecutive interior. And consecutive interior, if we look back up here, we know that those add to 180. So we're going to go for our equation setup, 3x plus 4x plus 10 equals 180. All right. Then we have to solve this equation. So let's combine some like terms here. 3x plus 4x is 7x. Minus 10 on both sides. We're left with 7x equals 170. And then I don't think this one has a very nice answer, but that's okay. Sometimes you get decimals. Dividing by 7 on both sides. 170 divided by 7 is 24.285. So if I was going to round that to the nearest tenth, what would I round it to? What do we think? I was going to round that to the nearest tenth. Yeah, 24.3. There we go. So there's another type of question that we could see. Let's do another. Here's our parallel lines. And we're going to say that this is 3x minus 6. And this is x plus 10 for that angle right there. And again, we're going to solve for x. So what do we think? Should I set those equal, or should I add them and set them equal to 180? What do we think? Equal or add to 180? So let's try and take a step back and decide what our angle relationship is here. So this angle and this angle, if these are our parallel lines, what do we think their angle relationship is? Are these angles both interior or both exterior? Well, this one's interior. Is this one interior? Yeah, no, these ones are not both interior. Let's see, Samia and Gavin think that they are corresponding. They're right. They are corresponding. X plus 10 and 3x minus 6, these angles are corresponding angles. They're both in the same spot within their group of 4 angles here. They're both kind of that top angle there. Okay, so if we look back at our notes, corresponding angles are equal. So yep, equal to each other. 3x minus 6 equals x plus 10. Okay, so then we just have to solve that for x. So what I would probably do is subtract an x from both sides first. And then add 6 to both sides. And then divide by 2 on both sides to get x equals 8. Okay. Any questions on that one? All right, now it's your turn to try one. So we're going to set up another here. We're going to go, let's see. 3x plus 10, 2x plus 30. Okay, so step 1, figure out your angle relationship and decide if you're adding them to 180 or setting them equal. So make a decision there and then set up an equation. Once you think you have a good equation, type done in the chat. All right, so for those of you who have an equation already, did you add to 180 or did you set them equal? Which one did you pick? All right, Owen added to 180. Anyone else add to 180? All right, Shai did good. Because that's what we're supposed to do. Nice, Samia did too. Cool. So yes, adding to 180 was the correct approach here because these are consecutive interior angles. They're on the same side of the transversal and they're both inside the parallel lines. So 3x plus 10 plus 2x plus 30 equals 180 if you set up that equation, or the reverse of that, 2x plus 30 plus 3x plus 10. That's fine too. Equals 180. Okay, so go ahead and solve that equation for x. For those of you who have solved it, what'd you get for x? Ashton got 28. Good, that's what I got too. Okay, so if you got 28, you are correct. So here we would combine our like terms to get 5x plus 40. Subtract 40 on both sides to get 5x equals 140. Divide by 5 on both sides to get x equals 28. Okay. So today's assignment is going to be in big ideas, and it's going to involve a lot of the same kind of stuff we were doing here. It'll involve a little bit of review of 3.1 as well. So I'm going to post that, and we'll go through a couple of the problems together. Okay, I think it posted. Let's find out. It did. Okay. So, big ideas assignment for today. We'll go through a couple together because the way that they phrase the questions here is a little bit different than the way that we've phrased some of them in the past or what we've seen on IXL. First of all, it asks you to find the measure of a couple of angles. And then it says, tell which theorem can be used. So when they talk theorems, it's going to be things like the alternate interior angles theorem or the consecutive interior angles theorem. So basically, you're picking the angle relationship and tacking the word theorem onto the end. So for example, for number 1, for angle 1, what's the angle relationship between angle 1 and the one that's 140 degrees here? We kind of have a word bank down here. the angle relationship is alternate interior, right? Because they're on opposite sides of the transversal and they're inside the parallel lines. So angle 1 and 140 degrees are alternate interiors. So I'd take alternate interior angles and put that right there. And I know that alternate interior angles are equal. So if this is 140, then angle 1 is also 140. Then we can talk about angle 2 and the relationship between angle 1 and angle 2. Angle 1 and angle 2 are on the same side of the transversal, and they're inside the parallel lines. So that means they're consecutive interior. So that would be consecutive interior angles is what we pick. And then since they're consecutive interior, that means they add to 180. So I would take 180 and subtract off 140 because that's what angle 1 was, and get 40. So that's how we want to approach that sort of problem in big ideas. And we want to make sure we use the check answer feature. Please, please, please use the check answer feature. Also, if you need help, click the question mark. You can watch a video tutorial. Sometimes it offers a tutor, things like that. If you need a calculator, make sure you use the calculator button. All right, and there are 14 questions in this assignment. We'll do another one together. This one says, complete the steps to find the value of x. Okay. So first of all, they kind of start us out, with some steps that we can follow. We're supposed to fill in the blanks of their steps. So they want to know 8x plus 6, this angle right here, is equal to the measure of which angle? Well, the only angle that's labeled in the picture is angle 4, so there's a big clue for us. 8x plus 6 and angle 4, those are alternate interior angles too, so you can kind of identify it that way. So I would say angle 4. Okay. So then, well, I know this angle 4 here is a linear pair with 118 degrees. So we might go, okay, well, what's 180 minus 118 degrees? That's 62. So that means that angle 4 is 62 degrees. So that 8x plus 6 is also 62 degrees. And now we're just kind of helping them solve the equation. So I would subtract 6 on both sides and get 56, because 62 minus 6 is 56. And then I would divide by 8 on both sides. So 56 divided by 8 gives me 7. So x equals 7. So if you would rather solve it on your own paper first and then kind of type in the steps, you can do that. But yeah, so it's kind of walking us through how to solve the problem. And at any step, you can check your answer and see if you got it right for that box before you move on. Okay, we'll do one more together. This one says identify all pairs of alternate interior angles. So alternate interiors would be like 3 and 6 and 4 and 5, right? So those are the ones we're hunting for in here. So 3 and 6 is one of them. There it is. 4 and 5 is the other. None of these other ones are alternate interiors. You should look and make sure, they don't have the order switch like 6 and 3 or 5 and 4 or something like that. But yeah, these are the only 2 pairs of alternate interiors, and you can check and see, oh, were we right? Yes, we were. Okay, so you guys have the rest of class to work on this. I will post an exit ticket towards the end of the period, and then please come back at 10:55 for our last HSBP together of the, I think of the quarter, or at least of the quarter for now, because on Tuesday intervention and enrichment starts. So I'll be here the rest of the meeting. If you need help with anything, feel free to come on and ask. Otherwise, go ahead and work on your assignment.